Here, different things. She looks at this. A lot of it's addressed in single family, but it applies to multifamily too. And then as you get, and towards the end on page 48, it's what to look for in a design if you're the different elements in the community. And the first one is about municipalities and city officials. And I think those are really, really good ones. You want to look at sustainability. Is it a good project? Is it going to be there for a while? It's not just a, to me, bad sustainability is strip shopping centers. They aren't good because they have one function and one function alone. If you design a good multifamily development, it's going to help out the whole rest of the area. It helps out the single family, it helps out the retail. They all work together. You hear a lot of talk about mixed uses. Mixed uses are good, mixed incomes are good. All these things work together to create a community. A community is not just one income level living in a 6 square block area with no retail around it and nobody else. Everybody's all the same and they drive into the garages, go in the garages, go in the house and never see anybody. A community is people interacting with each other. It's people getting out and walking, going shopping, going to the park, doing all these things. So sustainability is a key issue in all this stuff. And you got to look at tax base, how the long-term solutions are. And then once again, make your decisions based on what's good for the community. Don't react to bad design and make snap decisions. So, try to be quick. I know you guys talk a lot of things. So, any questions you guys have?
Any questions for Mr. Perry?
I'm curious, looking at the book, just as a discussion point, page 36. This is applying the principles to multifamily housing. I think that's an interesting avoid use. It struck me as, I've always kind of heard break up the materials, the roof lines, depth. And she's saying here to kind of go back to the traditional.
Yeah,
and I don't know, it was more of just a comment for discussion purposes.
I like the one on the top better.
Well, that's kind of what I was like, I don't know, as a design professional, it was almost like it was a misprint to me, but.
Well, I think there's a mix of different elements. So you have a triangular, structure above your, so you're mixing the Greek with, with that colonial, with dormers, so it's all the.
It's the design elements more than.
Right, and that's what she tries to stress is that
cohesiveness of design.
Simplicity and sustainability. I mean, if you look at that design, it's going to be a much easier design to maintain. You don't have the
instead of using a whole lot of different design elements in a building, use ones and really emphasize them. Pick out the important ones and really emphasize those as in trying to put 20 different design elements across the face of the building. Pick 2 or 3.
It's almost the old classic brownstone design she used to see in the East.
But if you look at the brownstone designs in the East, if you look at them really, they all have the same basic elements. They don't vary much from those. They may vary in materials. One of the things she emphasizes is use color and texture a lot, as opposed to a lot of different materials. Use your colors to help break it up and soften it up, as opposed to using brick on this building, siding on this building, stone on this building, or even on the same front of a single-family house, instead of using stone, stucco, and 60 different materials on the front of the house, and 25 gables, and arched windows, and big transoms and stuff. Like, all you're doing is taking away from the design of the building.
Well, what stood out to me was what you have on page 19. And that's kind of what I was talking about in terms of the old brownstone effect versus the vinyl siding.
Right.
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
That just, it has a certain element of cheapness to it. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily inexpensive. It's just.
Well, look at the landscaping that's on the other one too. I mean, the trees, the landscaping.
But, it's a statement in terms of what do you want from the community. It kind of goes back to what Tom was saying. What type of community do we want to do?
But you have to be concerned about affordability too, because with everything that's going on in the market right now, and it's not just that. I mean, I see it in dealing with communities all over the metro area in terms of constantly adding these regulations without thinking about what it costs. It's just like that's a huge thing.
Going back to the question, I know a lot of other companies that I've talked with are reviewing some of these issues, and as we especially go into our design standards, what nationally wise, what's going on as far as design standards on multifamily for, let's say, for brick. A lot of these, especially here in this area, have, 35 to 75% of the building has to be brick or whatnot. To pigeonhole everything on how is the trend now on that? Because
it varies by area. It truly does. I think that Kansas City area has a tendency when they do design standards to kind of go overboard and really legislate how exactly they want the buildings to look. And I think that's the wrong trend, and I don't see that happening in a lot of cities. I've traveled around quite a bit to different cities, Charlotte, Denver, Dallas, Minneapolis, and you don't see all that. You see design standards, but they're limiting to an extent, but they're not being very, very real specific as to what the building has to actually look like. I mean, they're not saying you have to use 75% brick, or you have to use 50% brick, or you've got to be four-sided architecture. Here's the materials we want you to use. We're going to want you to use these because you deal with that, and you just deal with the design. Because the marketplace still determines what's going to sell.
Sure.
So.
I think as I kind of, to follow up on your question, I just got back from Dallas, and of course now I'm boring and I drive around and look at neighborhoods, look at design. And it just seemed like everything was stone and brick in Dallas. I mean, you would look at apartment buildings and homes and businesses, and it was brick or stone on all four sides. So I guess my question is it determined by an area? I don't know why there's so much brick and stone in Texas and Dallas, except maybe it's affordable. They have a lot of it available. Maybe they have a cheaper labor force. I'm sure that determines. Well,
it's all labor force.
But it's you go to Wichita.
Is that what it is? Because
all
you see so much brick and stone, and it's like, why do you see so much there and not in other parts of the country?
We've done projects here. We've done projects down there. We did an assisted care, same building down there. We could do all four sides and complete brick down there cheaper than using a lesser quality material here.
Really?
And
That answers the question.
The other thing that has happened here in Kansas City is that over time, one of the largest contractors in town here bought up all the masonry companies and created a monopoly in town. Now, the negative impact on that is it eliminated competition for the price of masonry in town, but it also eliminated those smaller companies who would have been in the residential and multifamily marketplace. So, I won't say the name, but one of the largest general contractors in town also is the largest masonry contractor in town.
right.
I'd also like to make a point too, is that many cities develop what is called a vernacular, and they decide what is unique to their city and to their region. So, for example, in Arizona, you can see a lot more stucco adobe style because that is unique and specific to that region. And here in the Midwest, we would see more maybe prairie style, kind of Frank Lloyd Wright type architecture because that is what's unique here. And I also wanted to make another observation in here within the material of this book. They were talking a little bit about how stone and brick is not so great. And I also noticed that it's affiliated with Party Board.
They were responsible.
Yeah, I mean, it's not to say that it's not a good book, but it's also, don't discount, too. Limestone is a natural stone that's prevalent in this area, and it looks very nice in a vernacular sense. So,
I think what she's saying is
Very expensive.
we have a tendency to use bits and pieces of it as opposed to a simple design. I mean, like this picture here, you got a little stone, you got a little siding, you got all kinds of things going on there, and it's just, makes it real busy. And we have a tendency to do that in this area. We'll do a stone front section, and then the rest of it will be stucco, and you'll have some siding on the sides, and it just gets to be a little
Less
too
is
much.
more.
Exactly, that's what she's trying to say. is less is more.
And for so long, and I'm definitely one of the biggest culprits on that, for so long, more is better because that's how the whole trend was going, and now it's starting to change, and it's, especially going to her, and this is the second time that I've seen her speak, but it's very difficult to go back to that. But I can definitely see the advantages of it, as far as not today, but 10 years from now, what that community is going to look like as the trees and everything grow up and how the walkability of everything goes. But it's difficult.